In the summer of 1956, 10 men locked themselves in a room to create something that didn't even exist yet: artificial intelligence. They had no proof it would work, just a hunch and the guts to bet the future on it. Ever wonder when and where artificial intelligence was actually born? Not the first robot, not the first computer, but the moment someone stood up and said, "We can make machines think." This video will take you to that exact moment. The Dartmouth Summer Research Project of 1956. It wasn't just a meeting. It was a spark that lit the fire of modern AI. And wait until you hear how wild some of their ideas were. Keep watching, because this isn't just about what happened. It's about how a group of researchers, with almost no funding and no proof, set out to build a future, and actually pulled it off. Let's set the scene. It's 1956. Elvis is shaking his hips on stage. NASA hasn't even been born yet. The average home doesn't have a microwave, let alone a computer. Back then, computers were clunky, room-sized beasts that could barely do basic math. They were basically glorified calculators that ran on punch cards and vacuum tubes. To most people, the idea that these machines could someday think was like saying your fridge would write poetry. But there was a tiny group of scientists who believed otherwise. One of them was John McCarthy, a young assistant professor at Dartmouth College. He had a bold idea. What if machines could simulate every aspect of human intelligence? Now, McCarthy wasn't just spitballing at the bar. He wanted to gather the brightest minds in computing and math to figure this out together. So he wrote up a proposal for a workshop and sent it to the Rockefeller Foundation, asking for $13,500 in funding. The title of that proposal? The Dartmouth Summer Research Project on Artificial Intelligence. Yes, that was the first time the term artificial intelligence was ever used. Let that sink in. The name we use today for everything from Siri to ChatGPT was just a line in a funding proposal back in '56. McCarthy's proposal was short, just 2 pages, but it was packed with ambition. Here's a quote that still gives chills. "Every aspect of learning or any other feature of intelligence can in principle be so precisely described that a machine can be made to simulate it." Basically, they believe that intelligence, learning, reasoning, perception, everything wasn't some magical human-only power. It could be broken down, described in logic and math, and then coded into machines. That's a mic drop moment right there. He invited a handful of brilliant researchers, including Marvin Minsky, a young Harvard-educated mathematician who'd go on to co-found MIT's AI lab; Claude Shannon, the father of information theory. This man basically invented the science of digital communication. Nathaniel Rochester, the architect behind IBM's first commercial computer. Alan Newell and Herbert A. Simon, the duo who built the logic theorists, considered by many the first AI program. These weren't just tech geeks. These were legends in the making. So in June and July of 1956, they all gathered at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire, in what was supposed to be a 6 to 8 week brainstorming session. Spoiler alert, only 4 of the invitees stuck around for the whole thing. Others came and went. Some didn't even show up. But what they started, it changed everything. Now, this wasn't some sci-fi movie-style lab with flashing lights and robotic arms. It was a seminar room, some chalkboards, and minds racing faster than any machine could. They debated. They theorized. They argued. They scribbled on blackboards. They drank a lot of coffee. The core idea? That human intelligence could be broken into parts. Problem-solving, memory, reasoning, language, and machines could eventually do all of it. To test that theory, Newell and Simon brought their logic theorist program. It was a computer program that could prove mathematical theorems, something that, until then, only humans could do. And guess what? It worked. The logic theorist actually proved 38 of the first 52 theorems in Principia Mathematica, sometimes more elegantly than the original authors. That was a huge deal. It meant that computers could not just compute, they could reason. This was the first real proof that artificial intelligence wasn't just a pipe dream. It could be real. And that changed everything. But here's the kicker. The workshop wasn't a slam dunk. Not even close. The team thought they could crack the major problems of AI in a few months. They were confident that machines would be as smart as humans in maybe a decade. Yeah, not quite. They severely underestimated how hard it would be. Language, perception, learning. They all turned out to be way more complicated than they thought. By the end of the workshop, they hadn't created a smart machine. They hadn't even fully agreed on how to define intelligence. Some critics even called the whole thing a failure. And for a while, it seemed like they might be right. AI research slowed. Funding dried up. The 70s and 80s saw what's now called the AI winter. The dream of intelligent machines looked dead in the water. But that's not how revolutions work. They don't always explode overnight. Sometimes they spark slowly and burn for decades. The Dartmouth Workshop planted the seed. Even if the results weren't immediate, the mindset it created that intelligence would be engineered kept growing. The ideas discussed in that little room became the blueprint for AI for the next 70 years. Let's break down some of the impacts. The term artificial intelligence stuck. That phrase coined by McCarthy is now a global buzzword. Tech giants build empires around it. Kids learn about it in school. Politicians debate its ethics. It all started there. Inspired new fields. Cognitive science, machine learning, robotics. All these grew out of the ideas at Dartmouth. It's like they lit a torch that other fields carried forward. Created the first generation of AI researchers. Minsky, Simon, McCarthy. They became mentors to entire schools of thought. McCarthy went on to develop Lisp, the first AI programming language. Minsky built robots that could see. Simon won a Nobel Prize. Legacy in modern AI. Today's systems, from self-driving cars to ChatGPT, are built on principles first discussed in that room. Neural networks, deep learning, symbolic logic. It all traces back to Dartmouth. And here's something poetic. They didn't succeed in building true AI in 1956, but they gave us the questions that we're still trying to answer. Can machines really think? Can they understand? Can they feel? We haven't fully cracked those yet, but the fact that we're still trying, that's the real legacy. Now, picture this. It's July 1956. The workshop is winding down. McCarthy, Minsky, Shannon, and Rochester are sitting around a table. The chalkboards are full of equations and half-finished ideas. They haven't built a thinking machine. They haven't even built a prototype. But there's this feeling in the air, like they've opened Pandora's box. They know this is bigger than them. They know they've started something that won't be finished in their lifetimes. It's not about solving everything today. It's about starting the conversation that will last for generations. And they were right. Because here we are, decades later, talking about their workshop, using AI to write scripts, generate images, drive cars, even detect diseases. It all started in that hot summer room at Dartmouth. So, what was the Dartmouth Workshop? It was the birth certificate of AI. A bold, messy, brilliant gathering of minds who believed machines could think, and had the guts to try proving it. They didn't have all the answers, but they asked the right questions. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change the world. It wasn't about the tech. It was about the mindset. That human intelligence wasn't magic. It was something that could be studied, modeled, and one day replicated. And that mindset, it still drives AI today. Subscribe for more videos that spike your curiosity.